Well, today there's a group of Latin Americans and specifically Mexicans that are gathered here because we're asking for the resignation of Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto. Over the last 10 years, there's been more than 120,000 people been made to disappear in Mexico. And among them, 30,000 women who have been made to disappear. Their families can't find them. They don't know what's happening. We're basically asking Enrique Peña Nieto to resign from his position as Mexican president. He was elected by the Mexican people 2 years ago. At the 2-year mark, according to Article 39 of the Mexican Constitution, people can ask for him to resign, to be impeached from his position. And the reason we're asking for this is because of the 43 students that have been made to disappear this year. But before them, many, many more. As I mentioned, 120,000 Mexican citizens have gone disappeared, and the Mexican government is doing absolutely nothing about it. They're trying to squash it. They're trying to just pretend it's not happening. We also want to call on the Prime Minister of Canada and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Baird, to put pressure on the Mexican president to do something about these human rights atrocities that are occurring. Enough is enough. Something has to be done about it. And the Canadian government can't continue to act as if the Mexican government is respecting human rights in Mexico. So we're here to demonstrate in solidarity with the people of Mexico, especially the families of the missing 43, and continue to be in solidarity with them in this struggle for human rights in Mexico.
And there are some parallels between what's happening in Mexico and things that are happening here in Canada. I heard you mentioning about the indigenous population and missing and murdered women as well.
Yes, most definitely. There's because of the more than 30,000 missing Aboriginal, specifically indigenous women of Mexico, there's a direct correlation here. And what we think is that because of the way that right-wing governments are trying to reduce the responsibility of government and basically strip away the opportunity for government to legislate, we're basically living in a state of lawlessness, and that's what's happening in Mexico right now. That's why there's so many disappearing, because people act with impunity, and those are people with power, and it's specifically those who run the drug trade that are in collusion with the Mexican state, or better stated, the Mexican state is in collusion with the drug traffickers, and we believe that that same type of distortion of power is happening right here. Indigenous women and men, for that matter, thousands of them are disappeared right now here in the country of Canada, and so these things are directly linked with one another. So we need to start working as everyday citizens to stand up to government and ask them to legislate on behalf of the people, to make sure that we don't continue to live in this state of lawlessness where anyone with power feels that they can make someone disappear or murder them and then act with impunity.
And like you did for Richard, can you make a statement, sort of maybe something sort of summing up what's happening here? Can you say it in English and can you say it in Spanish?
Okay. We are here to demonstrate in solidarity with the people of Mexico, to bring awareness and put pressure on the Mexican government because of the human rights atrocities that are occurring. Estamos aquí, mexicanos y latinoamericanos en Edmonton, para estar en solidaridad con la gente de México y para poner presión internacional en el gobierno de Enrique Peña Nieto para pedir que se haga algo sobre los abusos de los derechos humanos.
Gracias. Thank you.
De nada.
Alive, they took them! Alive, we want them! Alive, they took them! Alive, we want them! What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
Peña Nieto!
Resign!
Peña Nieto!
Resign!
Peña Nieto!
Resign!
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. Justice!
All to get our gang together. So you're back.
We're back. We're still trying to stop the bombing, but you know what? Over in Iraq, Canada is not bombing at the moment because they've run out of targets for the U.S. Military to give them. What better time than now, when they don't have any targets, to bring those troops home and bring those airplanes home to defend Canada, not to wage aggression on other countries.
I'd like to point out that we're about to celebrate Christmas. For me, Christmas is about the reflection of peace on earth. And I even went so far as to get a tattoo. My birthday is around Christmas time, and I always reflect on the nature of war and how we can reflect on peace at this time of the year. And we're going to celebrate Christmas, and we're going to celebrate anything about the life of Christ, but we have to consider we have to consider the message of peace.
For our organization, we work with around 2,000 families each year, and so they're not all refugee claimant families. They're families of different background, and they came to Canada.
So we're here today with a whole bunch of organizations and individuals who are deeply concerned about the federal government that is putting through a measure in an omnibus bill to cut refugee claimants off income supports. This is a provincial jurisdiction but the federal government has a rule that says you can't put residency requirements on people, but what they're doing is saying you can deny refugee claimants income support. And that would be a huge thing, because refugee claimants, when they come here, have next to nothing. And they're not allowed to work until they get a work permit. That takes 5, 6, 8 months, I've heard, before you can even get a work permit. So what is a family supposed to do all of that time? But they need the support of the provincial government. And so we just find it absolutely shocking. The Conservatives, yet again, are attacking refugees, and that's why we're here today, is to bring a message to our Conservative Member of Parliament here, but all of them. So we have a part on our website that says you can go there and send an email to all 28 members of Parliament that saying that challenging them on why they're moving ahead on this Bill C-43.
Well, clearly it's an attack on refugee claimants right across this country, and specifically in Alberta. Our position is to make sure that we look after people who need, refugee claimants here in the province need a leg up as they get settled, before they get a job, and so forth. And we do not need to follow the lead of this very regressive federal Conservative government and attack people that require help. It's not who we are as a community, it's not who we are as Canadians, and quite frankly, we will be there to ask very specific questions today in the legislature to ensure that we don't follow this bad example by the federal Conservatives.
Okay, so we're here today to challenge the Harper government's latest attack on refugee claimants. Bill C-43 is the federal omnibus bill, and it includes sections 172 and 173, and what those will do is they will allow provinces to refuse all income supports to refugee claimants. Despite growing opposition, this bill is most likely going to be passed by Christmas. So we have 3 people here today to speak to you about this bill and what this is really going to mean for refugee families if they're not able to get income supports. But before I turn it over to them, I just want to explain one reason why we're here today in front of our Member of Parliament, Mr. Peter Goldring's office. A few of us met with Mr. Goldring back on November 10th, exactly 1 month ago today. And in that meeting, he was unable to answer the basic question, why? Why is this government choosing to say that we can cut off income supports for refugee claimants? He had no answer to that, and yet he promised he would speak with his colleagues, and it's been a month and we've had no answer whatsoever. On top of all of that, in that conversation, he said, well, aren't there other supports that refugee claimants could get? Can't they live in a homeless shelter? Think about that. That is shameful. That is opposed to our Canadian values. To say that people coming here as refugee claimants are going to have to live in a homeless shelter instead of getting income supports, that is not my values, that is not the values of most Canadians, and we think it's shameful. So that if this passes, which it is the omnibus bill, we anticipate it will pass, the question's going to be, what is the provincial government going to do? And again, I appreciate David's here. David's going to be asking that question in the House today, and it's a simple yes or no question. Will you use your power provided by this bill to cut off refugee claimants? And so we're going to be seeing that, and we're going to have to move this forward as we go ahead.
There are a number of us, around here who actually work with usually those who are voiceless and faceless. And refugee claimant families are one of those. And many people even confuse what is refugee, what is refugee claimant. So one of our hope today is us here, as well as those who are going to see the footage, actually have the right message to share with others and really raise more awareness beyond even this bill. First of all, refugee claimants are usually families who are here. Somehow they reach here and they're seeking for refuge. And so they are not regular refugees who come through government or family or community support. They of course need support too. So first message is, please don't be confused. Refugee claimants are those who made it to Canada seeking for refuge. And often for them, it takes a while to get a work permit. It's during those moments when they don't have income that we really look forward to government providing them with short-term income support. And please don't think of them as government tend to do. They're just a category. They're not. They're people. They're usually parents with children in need of housing, in need of food, just for a short period of time when they're most vulnerable. So can we all remember this and explain it to as many of your friends and colleagues and neighbors as possible? Because it won't be just this bill. There'll be many, many reasons where the most voiceless and the most vulnerable are often at the risk of losing the basic support for basic needs. So I just wanted us to remember those messages. Thank you.
I came from Mexico. We came here in 2008. My family and me, we asked for refugee. We was refugee claimant, but the refugee claimant was refused, and we need to apply for humanitarian compassion grounds. When we apply for refugee, we need to wait for around 5 months waiting for permit work. And this time, we ask for social assistance. When the permit work, we receive the permit work, we start to work and with the social assistance. After we apply for humanitarian compassion grounds, when the refugee was refused, and the third occasion was refused again, and in 2013 we applied for the second time for humanitarian compassion grounds, and this was approved, and last month we received the permanent residence.
So I'm just about the same age as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and so for 66 years I think at this time of year always that Canada has signed document after document that says that we will uphold human rights of everyone regardless, without distinctions. And so I'm embarrassed to be part of an event like this today. On Human Rights Day, we slip too easily into asking ourselves, what do we as individuals need to do to make sure human rights are respected and honored? But today, we are here in front of a member of Parliament's office because we're reminding ourselves that government, this government, is failing in regard to human rights of people in this country. You know, a country has three choices really around human rights. Canada's name on the Universal Declaration says that we will uphold the human rights of everyone. We could also just kind of allow human rights. But what troubles me today, and why we need to raise our voices and be active, is that Canada is in fact involved in an assault on human rights of people. And so not only are we failing in our obligation to uphold that we have made in front of the whole world, worse than that, we are actively participating through this bill in yet another part of an agenda to attack some of the people who live with the greatest stress and the most difficult lives that we could even begin to imagine. And we have got to be loud and strong in making clear that that is totally unacceptable. That this and the many other measures that are being taken that slip between the cracks in the news coverage, but that are part of an overall agenda that says that there are people that we no longer welcome in this country, that we are no longer going to share the wealth and the safety of this country with, are under an attack. And so I hope that today is just one more statement that we make, and as individuals we mark Human Rights Day today by saying we call on this government to express sorrow about going down the path it's starting to go down, and to commit to uphold what the Universal Declaration calls for. That is, that refugees that are coming here trying to find a place to rebuild lives will have the chance to be able to do that with the full support of this government, not despite this government. So that's the action we have to be prepared to take out into the communities we come from.
Thank you. I want to make 2 points. The first is that Canada has a special responsibility towards refugees because Canada, unfortunately, is a country which helps to create refugees. From Haiti through the bombing of Yugoslavia, today in Iran, in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, in many, many other countries, Canada has actually participated in wars of aggression and regime change, which have given rise to many thousands and hundreds of thousands of people being forced to seek refuge and to leave their homelands. And as such, Canada has a special responsibility. So in our work in ECOWAR to fight for an anti-war government, we really think that the issue of Canada's responsibility in terms of this is very important. The other thing I think that we really need to pay attention to, and is deeply troubling to Canadians, is the extent to which our government is in contempt of the rule of law on this. Not only is Canada in violation of the treaty which it has signed on refugees since 1951, which requires it to provide social assistance on the same basis to refugees as anyone else, but this new law is clearly in contempt of the decision of the federal court on the question of health care, and the Harper government knows it. And a government which is simply declaring that the law is whatever it makes it, and has total contempt for the courts, for its international obligations, and for the rule of law is deeply troubling to Canadians, and a situation which has to come to an end. Thank you.
As Bill mentioned, we will be bringing up this very issue in the provincial legislature today. I have devoted my questions to ask Jim Prentice and Heather Klimchuk specifically if they are willing to go down this path, this very, very slippery, dark path that the federal government has laid to deny refugee claimants the social assistance they need to help get settled and before they get a job and to get so they can find their feet in our society, or are we going to cut that out from underneath them as this federal government has done so? And so I will ask Heather Klimchuk very specifically, and we must all listen very specifically for her answer, because how we act on these issues and other issues around people that require assistance is a reflection of who we are as a society and a community. And if Jim Prentice and the PCs want to follow this very negative, destructive path that the federal Conservatives have, then they will have to answer to our community, they'll have to answer to their conscience, and they'll have to answer to the Alberta New Democrats. And they don't want to do that, I can tell you that. Thank you very much.
Here I am, that I might welcome you, teach me your song, that I might sing with you, share your strength, that I might build with you the place we both belong. When you were clinging to that rusty boat, the icy water must have chilled your hope. It changed my life to watch you flee for yours. I knew we had to open up the doors. Those tides of 35 years ago have always been, will always ebb and flow. Way back to when people came, our dreams and fears the same. So here I am, that I might welcome you, teach me your song, that I might sing with you, share your strength, that I might build with you the place we both belong.